Hello, everybody, and welcome into my latest live broadcast. It is Sunday, the 9th of April, 2023, and I'm your host, Kerry Holzman. Today, an unusual weekend, actually. I'm broadcasting on a weekend, but I've got so much broadcasting to catch up on due to the last couple of weeks of other distractions. I thought, why not take advantage of a nice, slow Sunday? Everything's closed today, being Easter Sunday, and I thought, hey, maybe a lot of people are home looking for something to do like I was. I'll go live. So this was like a last minute decision here, but this company called ClonerAlliance reached out to me. I've never heard of them. They said, we have some capture devices. Would you be interested in reviewing any of them? And I took a look and I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I would like to review the ClonerAlliance Flint 4KP Plus. It's a USB HD 1080 HD video capture card that you could use for streaming. And I thought, let me show you just how little power you need to go live on YouTube if it's something you're kicking around. Now, of course, we can always go live with any modern day cellular phone. That's fine, but you're not going to get the kind of control. It's harder to get, some distance, as well as, getting specialty microphones you'd have to buy that are either Bluetooth, and you can have lip sync issues, and all of that can be addressed in OBS, but nonetheless, life gets so much easier with a video capture card. Now, some of these little tiny computers, like the giveaways I've got here, or even this little Ace Magician, they don't have room to put any capture cards in them. But a USB capture card is likely all you're going to need, preferably USB 3 or above. And yeah, you can pull the audio directly from the camera, or you can even have a separate line input audio. Now, I've not even opened this box. I've never touched it. I don't know anything about it. I like to keep my videos real, genuine, authentic, and I want to show you how I, as a professional computer technician, will try to figure this out, only referring to the directions if I must. It should be relatively straightforward. When I first started making videos on YouTube, they weren't live, but they were created with a USB cable capture card. And when I wanted to do multiple cameras, I had to get multiple capture cards, and they would get hot. And so for smaller, shorter broadcasts, I guess I want to say, they were fine. And then sometimes I think I was overcrowding the traffic over the USB interface, and things would drop out after 45 minutes to an hour and a half. It started really getting annoying, and that's when I, had to bite the bullet and actually get a 4 HDMI input, $900 Magewell internal capture card. But what does that mean as far as like being portable? Well, of course, I can use a laptop, and there are Thunderbolt capture cards available that are a lot more money, and of course, not every laptop has Thunderbolt. So what's something universally you folks at home could use if you wanted to live stream and go a step above your cell phone camera? So what I've got in front of me, or what I think I'm going to need, I'm trying to think this ahead of time. I've got an HDMI cable we can run off of camera 2. This is camera 2 right over here. Hello, camera 2. You'll see the color shift on camera 2. I haven't really messed around too much with it. I'm mostly capturing audio with that, and I'm capturing my video with camera 1. Now, why not just capture the audio in camera 1? Well, the audio chip on the Canon camcorder is not as good as the audio chip on the Panasonic, but the color translation on the Canon is better. The audio is better on the Panasonic. So I pull the audio and the video from the Panasonic, but I'm only using the audio on it. And I'm only using the video on the Canon camcorder. Now here, this is what CamGirl uses. This is the Sony, what do they call this? The RX100 Mark VII. Now this has the same size image sensor, a 1-inch image sensor, the same as these big camcorders, but a fraction of the size. But I also can't lock the zoom in. Every time you turn it on, the lens extends, and every time you turn it off, the lens retracts. You have to reset your zoom every time. It's got a relatively short battery life, and while we could power it with a USB cable, then we'd be tethered to the cable. And we're already tethered to a cable by running HDMI out into the capture card over here on the streamer. Now that streamer is a $4,500 computer. And I keep stressing to you guys, if you're familiar with the channel, just how little of that I actually need. This is mostly a fishing lure, right, to attract viewers. You don't need a 3070 graphics card or a 9900 KS processor. You don't need 64 gigs of RAM. I'm only using about 3% of that processor's availability. So 97% of that's just doing nothing. That being said, I'm very confident that these Core i5 6500s that we're giving away to veterans and people in need will likely have more than enough power to live stream. And we're going to test it live during the stream. So that should get interesting. And even this little $150 brand new Ace Magician, little teeny tiny computer, I suspect has enough power to live stream in 1080. But there's only one way to find out. Let me take a quick look and say hello to everybody joining in the chat. There's our good friend Planet Cryos with a $5 super chat. He says, "Are you feeling okay? You're live on a Sunday. Good to see you and happy Easter." Oh, I never feel okay. That's when you know something's wrong. But thank you for asking. Happy Easter back to you, my friend. And hello to Ron Barnish and Sorrow Man, as well to Mark Baggett and our good friend Luke Greeny out in Vermont. Hello to Christopher Turner and Alhej Depej and Duncanny, Daco, Jeff H., Paul Garrett, Zen Carter, Dan Nilsson, Positive Gene. Hello to Jason Kirkland and Gil Garcia, Matthew Burden and Mark Gaines. Mortant 1210 and Patrick Russo joining us here in the chat, as is Ferris. Welcome in, everybody. I hope I got everybody. Andrew Murray joining us from Australia. Snakebite says hello, as does David Nation Sr. and Kevin Crowley. Welcome in, guys. Hope you're having a good holiday today, if not, at least a safe one. So, as I mentioned, there's no preparation here. There's no script. That's the word. If I had a script, I wouldn't have hesitated. And as I mentioned before, I think I've got everything I need, including an extra microphone pack. By default, we can pull audio right out of the camera, which is going to sound terrible compared to what this setup is doing. But my understanding is there's a separate mic input on here that we can use. Or we could put a microphone on top of this camera. Oh, that could be interesting.
I'd be willing to try that.
You know what? I have the ZV-1, which has the mic on it already.
Yeah.
But I didn't charge it up. Well, this is a good experiment because for those of you at home thinking you might want to try streaming, and by the way, it doesn't have to be live streaming. This is really designed as a pass-through for gaming. So the idea is that you could take the output of your gaming PC or console into this, and then out of this into your television. And then the USB part of this would plug into your computer that you would then use to hook up your webcam or regular camera or even your cell phone, and then put a picture-in-picture, and that way you can game and stream at the same time. And it's a relatively inexpensive way to do it for this kind of quality. As I mentioned, the capture card I've got in there is $899 from Magewell. This one's $178. And you don't need a free port available like I do there. I cannot put that in this or any other smaller compact computer. Now, let me get my box cutter out here, which is somewhere in this drawer. I thought I took out everything I was going to need. It's hiding underneath a bunch of screwdrivers. And let me show you the Amazon page for this. So let's go over to Amazon, and I'll go to my Windows capture on OBS. We're going to go to Properties and change it to capturing my Chrome browser and turn that on. Okay. So this is the Amazon page for the Cloner Alliance. It's the Flint 4KP Plus. It's well, this one says 4K at 60 frames per second pass through. That means, when you're gaming at 4K at 60 frames a second, it will pass that through to your monitor, but it's only going to capture at 1080 by 60 frames per second maximum. And it does have the mic input, ultra low latency. It says it's plug and play, and it says for gaming consoles and DSLR, and of course camcorders. You'll see the reviews. It's got 152 reviews. About 65% are completely happy, 18% mostly happy, 3% seem undecided, and very few, just 5% and 6% are unhappy with it. Right now, we don't know if they don't know what they're doing or if they had unreasonable expectations. I don't know. Well, this person so much as says as much. I don't know. Okay, so we're going to decide for ourselves. Again, if I see a product on Amazon that has no negative reviews, I am very suspicious of that. So I like to see negative reviews. The thing is I don't want to see 50% negative reviews. Anything below 50%, especially if there's a lot of fewer reviews. The fewer reviews there are, the more acceptable, if there's one good and one bad, you're at 50%. But when you have 100 or 1,000, and if you're at 50% of 1,000 reviews, 500 bad reviews and 500 good ones, not quite sure. It's really a coin toss, isn't it? I'll leave that for you to decide. And I'm just flipping through the pictures here. Do they have any returned ones down here? Sometimes you can get a deal. No, I don't see any returned ones. Okay, so again, the beauty of this is that it's USB. You don't need to have a port available on your computer. Let me go back over to camera number 1. Here I am. And back over to my YouTube chat room. There you are. Daniel C. with a $5 super chat says, thank you so much for this amazing content. Well, thank you, Daniel. Thank you for your contribution and for supporting this channel. Stephen Clark jumps in the chat, says hello, as does Josh Kinder and Paul Garrett. Welcome in, guys. Arnold Albert and Doman 2000, Avery Remsdorf, Scott Hallinan, and Duncany, Pete, Tracker 34, Eileen Novak, Mats Olaf joining us all the way from Sweden. All right, guys, let me get this unboxed. See what it is. Maybe I put Camera Girl to work. Tell you what, let's get this plugged in. Do me a favor and grab the HDMI cable on the floor there. I have a spare HDMI cable, I have a spare microphone, and those will plug into here. This computer is the one we're going to try first, but I've got no pre-setup. This is just a clean install of Windows 10 with all the updates and tweaks that I do, the optimizations. And on this flash drive, I've copied over the OBS software and my video intros to make sure they play smoothly. I suppose the only trick will be putting my YouTube stream key in without you guys watching, but I think I know a way to do that. When I switch from the main streamer to this streamer, please be aware that the video and audio will cut out because I will effectively go offline. But the stream is set to keep going. So once I reestablish a connection a few moments later on this computer, then all you should have to do is, well, hopefully nothing. It should just come back. You might have to refresh the page, but you shouldn't have to. You just need to stay patient because, as I mentioned, the screen will go black and the audio will go down once I shut the streamer down. During the playback after the live video, YouTube will likely just cut that out and there won't be any delay for people watching the non-live version of this. I think that's how that works, but this is all an experiment. I don't know what's going to happen. All right, so let's get normally this camera is plugged into the capture card over here. That's what this cable's for. So we'll go ahead and we'll turn this on. There we go. And I'll hand that to you. And then we're going to switch right over to that camera, close-up camera, which is, where is it? Close up. I'm going to move that up here, I think. That's where it needs to go. Close-up camera now. Yeah, come on over. Craig Casabona with a generous $20 super chat contribution. Thank you, Craig. Okay, here's the box. As you can see, I've never opened it. That's all original, both sides. There's not a piece of tape over that piece of tape. Nothing up my sleeve. There's no tricks. I have nothing to gain by prepping for this and telling you that I didn't. So, all right, let's get this thing opened up and let's see how it's packed and what we have in the box. Now, the folks over at ClonerAlliance sent this to me for free. They're not paying me anything. They just said, hey, we'll send it to you if you'll do a review on it. And I said, you know what? I've been wanting to see if one of these little computers has enough power to stream. And I was about to buy a capture card. I don't know that I would have bought this one because I've never heard of this company before. And this is why companies want people to do reviews on their products, is to introduce their brand to your audience. So now a bunch of people like me who've never heard of ClonerAlliance will have at least heard of them. Whether or not you think it's of value is for you to decide, or we'll decide that together right now. Let's see, we've got support paperwork here if you need to contact them. We've got some very minor instructions here. This is the USB capture device. This is pretty much the same size as the other capture devices I was using years ago. We've got an HDMI in and an HDMI out. For today's purposes, I only need the in. I only need the in because we're going to go through USB for the output to go into the card, into this computer over here. This one, this little tiny giveaway computer, I bet has enough power for this. Then we also have a mic input. I believe we have a line input. And what is that, a headphone jack or something? What does that say? Line in, mic in, oh, line out. Okay, so I suppose you could hook it up to speakers. USB Type-C on that side. There's the bottom. And all the sides, got a lot of good venting on that. So hopefully this one doesn't overheat the way those ones I used to use used to. We've got an adapter here that I don't know what this does. It's type A to type A. I don't know. Let's see what else we have in the box. We've got an adapter here that's type A to type C. That makes sense. I totally get that one. We have an adapter here that's type C to female type A. Oh, well, that's interesting. And we have a type A to type C cable. And they even include an HDMI cable. What is this? This is another type A. How many of these adapters do we get? Here, let me just take these out of the bag so you guys at home can see what you're getting for your $178 here. There we go. All right, everything else is just cardboard. So we'll just take that and move it somewhere out of the way. The floor looks good. Okay, so again, I'm not reading any instructions. I just want to see how intuitive this is. I want the type C to the type A cable. And we're going to plug in the type C right here, like so. And that's going to go onto this computer here, which is up and running and waiting for us. So let's do this. Let's put close-up camera in a corner like that. And let's grab the HDMI input of this computer. Here we go. And let me step around. I want to use a USB 3.0 port because we're going to be, even though I'm not going to push out 60 frames a second. Let's go here. Let's go to one of these ports. It doesn't matter, any of these 4 ports. Hopefully that just auto detects and we don't need a driver for it. And let's see. I'm going to need to configure OBS on here. So let's do that. I've got my flash drive right here. And what I've done is I've copied my intro files, my graphics files for the start of the show, and my OBS configuration, as well as I just downloaded and put the OBS installer on this flash drive. So now what I need to do is I need to go full screen on my part. Now I can see it the way you guys at home see it. And I'm going to take the intros folder, I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go to videos right here, and I'm going to paste all of my intros on this little giveaway computer. Then I'm going to go back to my D drive here, my flash drive, and I'm going to take OBS Studio, double click and install it. This is a free open source, open broadcast software, OBS, and we're going to do our normal install like so. So far so good. And then I'm going to copy the OBS Studio folder because I can back up and restore. I'm lazy and I just want the whole folder because OBS is such a small program. To me, it's just faster to copy the folder on top of the folder it's creating right now. The files and folders that it does during the install, we just have to do that once. I'll click finish to let it run and you'll see what OBS looks like. I'm sure you've seen it before and there's plenty of YouTube videos. Here it comes. And okay, optimize for the connection. I'm just gonna click next throughout all of this. We'll say we're gonna optimize it for YouTube. And we'll use a stream key. I don't wanna do that right now, so I'm gonna hit cancel on this. Let it close that, and I'm gonna exit out of OBS. You'll notice I don't have any scenes, I don't have anything in here, and I don't wanna set all that up again. So instead, I'm gonna go to my C drive. Here's where things get a little technical. We're gonna go to the users folder, and I've got hidden files shown. That's my default on the Windows 10 Optimizer. And we're gonna go to the user, that's the name of the account I've created. And obviously the name has to be the same or it's not going to find the files, and I have to repoint all the files to the video folder in the username's particular video folder. And then I want to go under app data, which I don't have shown. So we're going to go over here. Oh, I don't have hidden items. Let's click hidden items. There's app data, roaming, and OBS Studio is right there. That's where our install goes. So I'm going to right click and hit paste. I'm going to put my OBS Studio folder from the flash drive on top of this one, and it overwrites all the same files. And I'll say, yeah, just replace all those files. Now, that easily, I've already configured OBS to match exactly what I have on the big streamer without doing all the work again. I've got to allow access to the network. It says it's missing a banner, CDK deals banner. Oh, because that's in the photos folder, and I only copied the videos folder. So if I don't want to get that error message at startup, I just need to remove that item, or I can ignore it, but let's see, it's in here somewhere. CDK deals. Yeah, that's not working. So I right click and we'll just take that out, remove it. Now that should have also copied over all of my settings and everything I've configured in OBS, so I don't have to redo all of that again. All right, so we're essentially taking the exact same OBS configuration. I want to make sure that some of my intros are working. Let's try Rick and Carrie. Yeah, I'd say that works. Audio's looking good. We could probably raise that audio up a little bit. And of course, you're not going to hear anything at this point. I don't think you are. Yeah, everything looks good there. So all the titles are working. Now, I have to add a new video source. None of these video sources here where it says camera 1, camera 2, that's where I'm switching between the HDMI input, the window capture, which is when I'm capturing Chrome or taking you to Amazon or a website, and then close-up camera. So none of these are going to work because they're all pointing to the internal Magewell capture card, which we obviously don't have on this little computer here. So I'm going to take camera 1, I'm going to right click, go to properties, and I'm going to select live streaming video device. I guess that's the one we're using, and we'll hit the little eyeball here to turn it on. Okay, so it says output 1920 by 1080 at 60 Hertz. Okay, I'm okay with that. And let's, for right now, let me go back to OBS. This is where things get a little bit technical. I'm going to go full screen back on camera 2 just so I don't screw myself up for later. And we're going to go back to camera 1, and I'm going to turn off camera 2, and I see the back of camera girl's head, which is fine. Don't move. You're fine. Don't move. But what I want to do, actually step just a little bit No, step towards, wait, step that way. Everything is backwards. Right there. Stay right. Just bring a little bit more in. Right there. Okay, stay there. Now, we need to go from your HDMI cable on that camera. We're going to unplug that HDMI cable. Go ahead. And then just throw it on the floor. Grab that one. And I'm going to plug the other end on the input on this card right here on in. Okay. And then I'm going to put camera 1 in a corner here. Once I select camera 1 first, put me right up there. Oh, it's working. Look at that. Unplug, plug it back in, give it a second. Give it a second. There we are. Any delay, everything looks fine. This is a giveaway computer. These are $100 used. It's a Core i5 6500. I don't need my flash drive in here anymore, so I'll unplug that. Okay, that's how easy. Which camera am I on? I'm on both of these. Both of you, listen to me. That's how easy that is to set up OBS, and it's free. Now the question is, are we going to get good audio and video? Point down a little bit. Are we going to get good audio and video out of this little tiny cheap computer and this very inexpensive and yet kind of high-end capture card, in the sense that it's doing 4K pass-through, 1080 capture, and will do 60 frames per second. I don't need 60 frames per second. I'm not a high-speed sport. You want 60 frames per second if you've got moving objects, like you're watching a tennis match and you don't want to see the ball have a little comet on it or any sort of blur in motion. I don't move that quickly. But when you're gaming, and especially if you're gaming at a high frame rate, the 60 frames per second is far more important than the 4K. And of course, you can get a 4K capture card, and especially if it's internal, because you have so much more bandwidth through your PCI Express bus. But through USB 3, you're going to be a little bit more limited, but still much more affordable, I think. And again, putting a capture card in a machine like this, it's not possible. There's no expansion slots in here. So we have to, if we want to use this as a streamer, we have to use a USB capture card. Winston Liu contributes $2.20 Canadian. He says there's a check for $5. Oh, check your PayPal. There's $5 from Canada. Thank you, Winston. I will check it here in a moment. Let's see. Icarana says, we heard you like cables and adapters. That's true. I think adapting is very important. And you should be flexible like a cable. And yes, so, okay. What computer is the giveaway computer? The giveaway computers currently are HP EliteDesk 600 G2s. They're a Core i5 with a solid state drive. Some of them have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, some of them don't. Some of them are 6500s and some are 6500Ts, but that shouldn't matter. They have Windows 10 installed and activated, and they're great basic computers to get you online and do everything but game, essentially. You could, if you were patient, do photo editing on them and video editing on them, but they will struggle with the amount of resources they have. They're just 8 gigs of RAM, and they're whisper quiet. They're built like a tank. These are off-lease business computers, and if you look in my past videos from a couple weeks ago, you will see the PC giveaway thumbnail if you want to learn more about them. I've actually opened one up and showed people how easy they are to work on, and they're not Windows 11 compatible, so once Windows 10 expires in late 2025, I wouldn't be using it online anymore, or I would put Linux on it. Anybody using one of these computers with Windows 10 in 2026 is taking a risk. It'll still work, but it's not going to properly protect you. Nobody really cares about being protected until after they're hurt. And if they've never been hurt before, they think they're immortal. So I'm not going to debate and argue with those people if they're going to insist on putting their blinders on. Like if I don't see it, it doesn't. See, camera 2 is not there anymore. That's the logic, and I can't deal with people like that. So if I send these to people and they continue to use them into 2026 with Windows 10, they've been warned. So when their identity is stolen or something bad happens online, ransomware, data theft, data destruction, I don't feel sorry for them because they were told. They're not intended to be computers that are going to last a lifetime. They're just giveaways to get people by until the end of 2025. That's all they are. Okay, so we've got OBS all set up. Now, the tricky part for me right now is I have to stop this stream, put my stream key in, or log in to YouTube on this other machine, which is something I don't want to show you guys for security reasons. And it could take a few minutes before the stream comes back. Now, before I go, does anybody have any questions or concerns about what I'm about to do or about streaming in general? Malcolm in the chat wants to know, would you recommend an adapter to convert USB 2 that's on my motherboard to a Type-C so I can use the front panel on my case? Well, it depends what you want to use it for. If it's a device like this, I'm not quite sure it's going to work well at USB 2 speeds. There really is no such thing as a conversion to USB 2. I just want to be clear. The U stands for universal. When we say USB, and universal means that whether it's USB 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they're all backwards and forwards compatible in the sense that they will communicate at whichever device is slower. So if I have a USB 4 port on my computer, but a USB 2 flash drive, then the speeds are USB 2 speeds. If it's the opposite, if I have a USB 4 flash drive and a USB 2 connector on the computer, it runs at USB 2 speeds. Whichever one is the slowest is the speed it'll run at. So all you're doing is you're converting Type-C to Type-A. Just so we're clear, you're not looking for a USB 3 to 2 adapter. That doesn't make any sense. They don't need adaption. They're automatically universal. What you need is a Type-C to a Type-A adapter, and you'd want a male C to a female A, which is pretty much what this is right here. And even though that shows that it's blue, showing USB 3, it is backwards compatible, so you can plug any USB 1, 2, or 3 device in that, regardless of what this does on this side. All right, so thank you for the question. I hope that clarifies any confusion. The U in USB is universal. Okay, now, any other questions I can address? Can you try the Intel NUC with Thunderbolt so you can get fast PCIe speeds for the external capture card? No. The capture card is not Thunderbolt compatible. I have a Blackmagic Thunderbolt capture card. They're very expensive with SDI input. It's way overkill, completely unnecessary, and anybody who's wanting to do that has more money than I do. What I'm trying to show today, William, is that for a very small budget, you can essentially do exactly what I'm doing for the price of a camera, which you might already own, the option of an external microphone so you can have clearer audio, and likely use the computer you already have without having to purchase anything fancier. A lot of people think streaming computers have to be fancy, but that's not true, especially if you're gaming on one computer and streaming on another. So in other words, if you're gaming on a console and then streaming that through your PC, where you need more power is if you're trying to do both the streaming and the gaming on the same computer. Obviously, people who game never seemingly have enough of anything. So the last thing you want to do is take away anything from a gamer to stream it onto Twitch or whatever. So if you want to use PCIe, you can go buy a PCIe capture card. It does not benefit you through USB. Okay, so I hope I've cleared up that confusion. Jason wants to know, I'd have to wonder what capacity it has on USB-C with 1080 and 4K. Well, I don't know what you mean by capacity. The 4K is a pass-through. So it's just passing through 4K at 60, and it is consuming through the USB 1080 at 60. Now, these cameras are set to 30 frames per second, so we're not going to push it to 60, but that's what it's designed to do. Nothing more than that. That's our maximum. And theoretically, indefinitely, we shouldn't have any overheating issues. We should not hit any limits. Duncany says you can buy a PCIe USB expansion card for your motherboard instead of trying to convert your USB Type-C to Type-A. Well, you're making an assumption there, aren't you? How would I put a USB expansion card into this little computer or into this one? You cannot. We don't know what kind of computer Malcolm has, and we don't know, even if he has a desktop, if, like me, he doesn't have any available ports, depending on if it's micro ATX, full ATX, or even mini ITX, or even something like a NUC. We just don't know. He's got a 1-liter PC. So therefore, that's not a universal answer that applies to just anybody. And I think full disclosure, when offering people advice, is just as important as the advice. And if you leave off the full disclosure, then the advice can lead people down a path of nowhere, just a dead end, when you realize what the equipment is they had because you didn't ask. So just a warning to those of you taking advice out there on the internet. People often mean well, but it's not their money they're spending, and it's not their headaches that you're getting. So just be aware of that. Now, let's look and see if I missed any questions. If anybody's got any other questions, let's address that now, because I'm going to pull the plug on this, and we're going to be down for probably 2 minutes. And you're going to get a blank screen, and it's going to look like the stream is over, but the stream isn't over. I should be able to reconnect the stream with this computer here and pick it right back up. And as I mentioned, I hope that in the playback after YouTube processes, YouTube will cut that, however long this middle part is where everything goes blank. And I'm assuming this is going to work. I've never done this before. So, and I'm not going to hook up the microphone just yet. We're just going to go through the in-camera mic right there into the capture card and then right out to YouTube. And this computer will be completely offline when we do that. So when I come back again, I will only be on the little computer.
Battery.
You're already low on battery? How's that even?
Out.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's not exhausted yet, but yeah.
I have some spare batteries over here. Yeah, here's a spare battery, but you're going to have to take that apart to. Yeah, go ahead and shut that off. We can do that. We can do this while we're live. Let me take a look at that real quick. Don't disconnect it. Just hand me the camera, please. All right, we can go full screen here for this. Ooh, it's a little warm. That's the other problem with these little cameras. When you run them too long, they get hot. Their battery life isn't very good. And every time you shut them off and turn them on, you have to realign your zoom again. I can't believe that battery did not last very long.
It was only at 75%.
What?
It was only at 75% when I turned it on.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. That's weird.
Yep.
Maybe I should stick with Sony batteries. Not an easy, quick, it is easy, but it's not quick to change the battery out during a live show. So that's another reason why these are not ideal. How's our battery looking on this one? How does that look? Come closer, step closer. Okay, how's that look?
That looks good.
Okay. Oh, we avoided that little delay. Like I say, when we go offline, people aren't going to know what's going on. So I think it'll take about 2 minutes. The interesting thing, Rogue Storm TV wants to know, should we type in "ta-da" when you come back like magic? Hello, Rogue Storm. No, you know what? Sure, why not? I was just thinking of an old joke. It's pretty terrible, so I'm not even going to repeat it. Okay. So what I have to do is I have to click stop streaming here on my OBS software. Then I have to use the capture card as a monitor so I can see the screen here, so that I can put in my YouTube credentials, select this broadcast, I hope this is going to work, and then start streaming. With all the settings still being the same, you should notice only the picture quality difference from this camera, and of course an audio quality difference, because I'll no longer be on this microphone. By default will be on that camera, and then assuming that works, then we can try the line or the mic input, and I can try mic 2 and see how that comes across. So incoming ta-da. Perhaps, let's hope so. Worst case scenario, after a couple of minutes, if I can't get this to work because of YouTube, I'll just start streaming back on the main streamer. You'll know based on which camera I come back on. So stand by. Give me about 2 to 3 minutes. I don't think it should take longer than that. I'm going to hit stop streaming, but I'm not going to end the broadcast. Your screen's going to go black. There's going to be no audio, but the stream is still running. Stand by. Here we go. Here we go. Freeze. Oh, check, check, check. 1, 2, check, 1, 2. That was quick. Holy cow, that was quick. Are we back? I think we're back. Now, some of you might think there's some kind of weird mystical magic going on because I have left this computer on. But I can assure you the only reason why is so I can look at I don't have a monitor here to look at the output of this. Unless I take the monitor output there and plug it into the back, then I can shut this off. But do you hear a difference in the audio? It's probably more hollow. But does the image quality look any worse than it did from this camera just a minute ago? Yes, it will be echoey because the microphone is way over there instead of right here. That's how microphones work. So I'm looking at it. Let me just see here. You're saying the video is stuttery. That's interesting. How much of my processor am I using on this little $100 giveaway computer? People are saying it's freezing. Oh! It's not the device. Give me a second. I'm on a different internet connection that's not as good. That's the problem. When I keep looking at that camera, I've got to switch internet connections. Hold on. Let me take this internet connection from back here, because I don't need that, because that's the streaming computer. So clearly the streaming computer is not streaming right now because I've got the cable in my hands. Now we're going to go offline for a second. I'm going to unplug. You see down here? Okay, now in theory, we should be back up and running on the faster internet connection. That was my bad. That's entirely my bad. When I switched the internet connection, this unit seems to have seized up, and it's warm. It's really warm. Let me get my little heat gun out. Let's see what our temperature is on that. It's not hot, but it's warm. Let's see. Larry G in the chat with a $20 super chat. Hey, thank you, Larry. I hear my phone beeping. What's that all about? Oh, there's a cat in the backyard. Avery Ramstorff sent an Amazon gift card of $6. Thank you, Avery. Winston with a $5 Canadian PayPal contribution. And Kevin Crowley sends a $25 Amazon gift card and says, Happy Easter. Oh, and there's our friend Ron Barnish with a $10 Amazon gift card. He says it's from the Easter Bunny. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate you supporting the channel and this wacky stuff I'm doing here. Now, video quality is really good. All right. See? So, that was on me. That's not on them. Now, the seizing that happened, the freeze up that occurred, that might be on them. I'm not sure why that happened. This computer does get warm, and probably setting this on top of here was not my brightest idea, so we'll just keep that off of there. But in the meantime, you can see that's a very easy stream setup. Now, what if we want better audio? So let's say you're like me and you start out on the cheap, and you decide, hey, I'm making a little money from YouTube. I'm going to put that money back into my YouTube channel. These microphone packs are $600 a piece, and then they come with a basic microphone, a $130 little lapel microphone. And then maybe when you make some money from that, you could buy some $500 lapel microphones to put on your $600 microphone pack, to put on your $1,200 camera. And before you know it, you've got 4 cameras and all kinds of crazy lighting. But it just takes time unless you have a ton of money to invest. All I do is I take the money that I earn from YouTube and I put it back into C-stands and lighting and capture cards and memory cards and cameras and tripods, tripod heads, lenses, batteries, rechargeable batteries, because these each take 2 AA's. I like the Eneloop Pros. They're kind of pricey, but they pay for themselves. This is an older G3 model of Sennheiser. I have the G4s now. Now, this is the one I would wear right here, and then this is the one that would plug into the microphone input over here on. Now, beware of your ears. I don't know how loud this is going to be. Oh, I should be over here. If we look over here, one of these says mic in. Is it that one? Line out. No, mic is the middle.
Mic's the middle.
Check 1, 2. Oh, gosh, I think I just got super loud. Check 1, 2. Check, 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 check 1, 2. Check, 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 check. I'm going to see if this is working. Check 1, 2. Check. If I mute this, check, check, check. Check 1, 2. Check. I don't know that I'm on this microphone. Let me see if I can select it. Properties. Default. If I go default, what does that do? Oh, you know what? Maybe I have to turn that off. Let's turn that off. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Still on the camera mic, it looks like, because I'm muting this and I still see the audio bar moving. Microphone. Live streaming audio device. Yes. Check, check. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Check, check. Check 1, 2. Check, check, check. So I've got this muted right now. Right up here, I've got a mute button. And I can still see the audio is getting picked up from the camera microphone. Now there is software that we can install, which we might need to do to tell it that we want the microphone input instead of the HDMI audio. And I'm going to guess we need that. So this says, what does this say? Get free bundled software to record or live stream. So I haven't downloaded any, and I want to be clear about this, I've not downloaded any proprietary software from the manufacturer. And I suspect in order to switch our inputs, oh, we're getting double audio? Oh, you know what might be happening? Check 1, 2. I think I know what's happening. Properties on camera 1. And somewhere in here I should have the option to turn off the microphone. Turn that off. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. So I'm kind of curious if the double echo has gone away, because if we're getting a double echo, see right now this is muted. If I turn this on, then that's actually a benefit, because that means it's using both microphones at the same time. And that would explain there's a slight delay in the wireless microphone that wouldn't be there on the camera, so the audio wouldn't be exactly lined up. So if I'm going to mute this right now, and now there should be no double echo if what I am theorizing is accurate, please let me know in the chat room, because I can't hear it, but it sounds like that's what's happening. So I would imagine I have to download the Flint 4K Plus software. I don't know if registering the software, registering the device is required to get the software. It's ClonerAlliance.com. So let's go over to ClonerAlliance.com. This is the first time I've started the browser on this little giveaway computer, so it's getting me through the setup of the browser, asking me questions, which is so annoying. Let's see, what did I say it was?
ClonerAlliance.
You can show this on the camera there. And let's go to window capture so they can see what I'm seeing. Okay, so there's the browser. And we want drivers, so let's see, software, ClonerAlliance app, Cloner Pro helper, ClonerAlliance helper. Don't know which one of these I want. Cloner Pro, MP4 ClonerAlliance app. Maybe it's just the helper. I just need a little helper. Download, some recording and video editing software for your hardware products. Fine. Download 64-bit version. And ClonerAlliance app. ClonerAlliance Capture Software Developer Kit. This is a pro version. I don't know. I suspect it's in the software where I can specify the microphone input. I think they want them both on so that you're going to capture your audio from your game that you're streaming into this, that you're passing through, while you can talk at the same time. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. So I doubt we can turn the audio off based on that realization. However, let's just see what this application is. So that's installing. And we're going to go back to full screen on camera. Oh no, you know what? Let's go back to Windows Capture here. All right, and we'll hit finish. And well, this will get kind of crazy here. Bear with me for a minute. Audio capture. Yeah, I see. Failed to start previewing. That's because we're using this device in OBS. Very interesting. Okay. So we have a video capture device here, and then it says audio capture device microphone. So it is offering us here, but then can we output that to OBS? That'll be my next question. If I go back over here to OBS and look at my camera option sources, there is a virtual camera. I'm going to switch to it. All right, now ignore that message for right now. I'm going to turn off my audio. Now, check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. No, it's still not muting me like it should. This is very interesting. Very interesting. So again, messing around with this, you can see it should be able to do what I want it to do. I can also just mute the audio out of the camera. And whether or not with that watermark that goes away with registering or you have to buy the software, I don't know yet. But I wouldn't use any third-party software. I would simply use OBS. I would use all the open source software. I'm puzzled about this audio issue though. So hang on just one second. There's one thing that occurred to me. I'm going to turn off my audio here. Okay, so in theory, check 1, 2, check. In theory, I'm back on camera 1 and the streamer. And that means I can shut down camera 2, this little mini PC. I keep using the wrong mouse. Let's see, that's going to be my HDMI input, so I just need to minimize or just put myself in a corner here for camera 1, like so. Just put myself up here. And let's see, I need to go full screen. I can't see anything. Full screen. And we will exit OBS here. Exit this software. Oh, this is interesting. We have buttons here. Wonder what these buttons do. Settings. I wonder if that's where I need it to go. It's not specifying. Video format, frames per second. I don't see audio source here. Of course, I can also plug the microphone directly into the camera, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to close that out, and I'm going to shut this down. That all gets reformatted and everything before it gets sent to a recipient to receive our free giveaway computer. More of those will be coming up in the near future. Okay, now, see if that wasn't confusing enough. Do you think, let me ask the audience, do you think, you can stay right where you are, you're good. I lost my chat room again. Let me refresh. Now that I have my internet back, it should bring it back. Ah, that's better. Here is our little Ace Magician. This is a $150 computer. This whole computer with, oh, let me go to camera. I'll tell you what, we can't see camera 2 now because you're still plugged into the other computer. Duh. So hold on just a second. And let me turn on close-up camera. And let me come over here. You don't move. I'm going to unplug this HDMI cable that was running over here. And instead, lift up your foot. You're standing on it. Okay, we're going to plug that in. Right like so. And that should bring us up on camera 2 now. Back over to the streamer. This gets really confusing because who's running 2 streamers at the same time? This nutcase. Oh, wrong mouse. All right, we're going to come over here. There we go. All right, now you can step over here. And this is the little Ace Magician computer. Now I want you to just think about something for a minute. This Ace Magician computer is $150 with Windows 11 Pro on it. This little capture card is $178. But in theory, let's just get this out of here because I still have to figure that little part out. But lots of different workarounds for this. Turn the batteries. Turn these off, save my batteries. Okay. In theory, we can take this plug from the capture card and we can plug it in any of these 3 ports, copy the OBS software, and guess what? This is going to have enough power to just do what we've already done on a $150 computer. This is a 4-core processor. It's more than enough for what we need. It should be. And that's a whole streaming setup, assuming you've got a camera you want to use. Now, of course, if you're using a webcam, you don't need a capture card. It's only if you want to step up to like a movable camera like what we've got here. You obviously, in most webcam cases, you can't move them around. You don't have any zoom. Their picture quality is not going to be near as good. So it depends on how important that is to you. If you just want to stream your gaming, then you're just going to put yourself in a corner with the game taking up most of the screen. So that's likely not going to have, the picture quality is not going to have much impact in that scenario because people aren't necessarily looking at you. But that's for you to decide. But, you know, the folks over at ClonerAlliance with the Flint 4KP Plus have sent something here that gets the job done. I would prefer that I did not have to download any proprietary software to switch my audio input source. But again, there's ways around this. I can plug the microphone directly into the back of the computer. I can plug the microphone into the camera. But I'd like to be able to have everything plugged into the capture card. Now, for full disclosure, the capture cards I was using did not have audio inputs, so you had to go through the HDMI cable. But if I can't figure out how to make these work without downloading proprietary software, oh, that's something I'd like to see addressed at this price point. Or if these were $100, it's more acceptable. But at nearly $200 after sales tax, personally, I'd like to be able to select my audio input source on OBS or Streamlabs OBS or XSplit, any of the very common utilities streamers use. But overall, it gets the job done. It seems to do a good job with regards to the video quality, assuming you have the bandwidth to handle it. So when I had it plugged into the default internet connection here at Studio B, we were dropping frames. It was having a hard time keeping up. So that's because my bit rate is so high. I recently raised my bit rate because the other internet connection here has gotten better. The one that's always been here stays the same. So if I want to cut my bit rate in half, I'm sure that would have resolved the issue. If you have a slow upload speed, you're going to want at least 8 megabits per second upload to broadcast live 1080p. If you don't have at least 8, you're wasting your time. None of this stuff is going to help you until you spend more for your internet connection. Or you can, as I mentioned, just use your phone if you're on 4G, 5G, that's going to be fast enough to stream, but you're just not going to have the versatility as you have with these higher end cameras. I mean, that camera costs more than this phone. And then that camera costs 4 times more than this phone. That camera costs 3 or 4 times more than this phone. And I have another camera that's 10 times more than this phone that I'm not using right now because it's got a whole bunch of bells, whistles, and features I still haven't taught myself how to use. It's a very powerful camera. So you can just keep escalating and growing and growing and growing as your needs and your skills improve. Your needs change, your skills improve, and you get more and more control over your image or images. In this case, I've got a 4-port Magewell capture card. Elgato's got a cheaper 4K 4-port capture card that's half the price, a third of the price. But I fall back to the Magewell because I prefer the default 1080 settings happening when I hook up a computer to the HDMI. Everything was defaulting to 4K, if you recall. It was driving me crazy because it's a 4K capture card. So of course, when I install Windows and it senses it for the first time, it says, oh, you're connecting to a 4K monitor, and it sets my resolution at 4K. Now, if I'm having a hard time reading text and such from a distance at 1080, make that 4 times smaller. 4 times 1080 is 4K. So everything is 1/4 the size. As a result, I can't see it very well. And I have to then change the resolution, but I can't see the resolution options because they're 1/4 of the size. So it's not like click, click. I got to walk up to the monitor and look right at it and be like, which one of those is 1920 by 1080? And I said, to heck with this. And I ripped the Elgato card out, put the Magewell back in. And if I ever want to broadcast in 4K, I'll put the Elgato back in. In theory, I could have them both in at the same time, but this is a micro ATX motherboard in the streamer. There's no room to add any more to it. I would need a full-size ATX, which would require a whole new case. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to just build a whole new computer. And honestly, that's a lot of money, it's a lot of time, and it's a lot of work. For what? So I can be in 4K? It's not that important to me right now. So, okay. Scott wants to know if I have 5G wireless internet in my area. Yeah, I'm in Phoenix. So Phoenix is a giant metropolitan city. And most giant metropolitan cities are the first to get 5G. So we've had it over a year. Does anybody have any questions about live streaming or about this capture card? Or about the necessary performance your computer needs to broadcast? Doman 2000 says, OBS advanced audio menu. I didn't look in the advanced audio menu, but I don't see it as a source at all. So I'm not sure that it would appear there, but it's possible. You know, there's no rehearsal, there's no script. It should show up as an audio source. And I should see several audio sources. I should see the line in from the capture card, the audio attached to the HDMI, and the microphone in. And those should be audio sources in OBS. I should not have to go into advanced audio properties. And I suspect if I do, I'm not going to find them there. I could be wrong, though. What link is for the $150 little silver PC, Hugh wants to know. You will find that, I just did a review on this a couple weeks ago, where I kind of fire it up and test it out. And off the top of my head, I can't tell you. I think it's in my Deals Now page. If we go to Amazon.com/shop/Carrie Holzman, then that should pull up my little shops, and one says Deals Now. I click on Deals Now. Is the little Ace Magician in there? It is. Okay. And I can add a link to that, to the video notes, but for now, I'll just capture the page on the screen so you can see it. Window capture. Right click, properties. That's the right one. Yeah, so this is the page. This is the Ace Magician Mini PC, the T8 Pro. I think if you just search Amazon for T8 Pro, and then you'll see, oh, is the coupon deal not there? They had a coupon deal taking $40 off of the price, but I don't see it now. But you know what? If you check this daily, I'm sure that get $50 off instantly for the Amazon Rewards Visa. No. There was a coupon here for $40 off and it's gone. But I'm sure they'll bring it back. And if you use my link, which I don't have right now, but I'll add it, that I make a very small commission on this. I probably make $1.80 on it. But it shows the folks at Ace Magician that we're having an impact. So hopefully they'll continue to send us these little computers. But you'll see this computer supports 4K HDMI at 60 frames per second and on three screens at the same time if you want. 2 Ethernet ports. It's got 8 gigs of RAM that is soldered on. It is not upgradable. There's a 256 gig solid state drive. It's just a little tiny 2242 drive that can be swapped out, but it's going to be slow. I mean, it's not going to be NVMe. Pretty sure that's just a SATA drive at that price, and probably not NVMe compliant. But furthermore, it's still only a Celeron processor, so even that's going to have limits anyway. And then the Wi-Fi card in it is, I'm not sure if it's Wi-Fi 5 or 6, but it's got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and the Wi-Fi adapter is not soldered on. That's underneath that little 2242. And this thing is a bit of a bear to take apart. It's not really designed to be easily taken apart, and I don't recommend that you take it apart. If you need more power than this, I suggest you just buy a more powerful mini computer. And if you look at my video library the last 3 or 4 weeks, you'll see I have a variety of computers from these mini PC manufacturers such as Camrui, Ace Magician, as well as B-Link and Minis Forum. In fact, the one we just did on, did we do it Friday? Is probably cheaper and faster than the computer you're using now for most viewers watching this. Okay. Oh, it was Geekom, that's right, Geekom. That was the first time I've done a Geekom computer review. That computer was $549. but it has the power and performance probably greater than the desktop you're using or the laptop you're using, and it probably costs less than what you paid for yours. That's amazing value, and it's super tiny. It's not this small. I mean, this is about as small as you can get without going to a little PC stick.
50% battery.
50% battery? You trying to tell me something? All right. Any other questions? Or we will wrap it up for today. Thank you to Mark Gossman with a $10 super chat. He says, thanks for all you do for your community and your YouTube fans. Well, thanks to the community, videos like this are possible. And thanks to the folks at ClonerAlliance for sending us the unit so that we could review it honestly. There's no money involved. So I can be truthful, full disclosure. There's nothing for me to win or lose based on this review being positive or negative. About the only negative I can find is that it wasn't easy for me to switch that microphone port. I'm sure it's doable, I just don't know how, and I think that should be easier, and I should have it as an audio source option within OBS. There's probably some third-party thing I can download from them that maybe adds that, I don't know. Maybe it's in advanced audio. I very likely think it's not in OBS. Or I could just plug the microphone into the audio jack in the back of the PC, which is what most broadcasters do anyway. You'll see they have a big mixer on their desk, and what they're doing is they're pulling their audio, they're pulling their video from their camera, and they're pulling their audio from their sound card in their computer. So they'll run their microphones into a mixer. Things get really hairy with cables and desk space and volume levels. When you're dealing with software, you shouldn't need any hardware to that level. I can emulate a mixer in software. So apart from the connection, you need the connection. I can hook the microphone up to the camera directly, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, Mortant wants to know if I'm still considering getting the Samsung 55-inch Odyssey Arc. I'm really not. However, if I see a price that's like, $1,500 or less, I might jump at it. But it's not solving the distance problem that I have. But I probably could bring the font up only on monitor 2 and leave OBS on monitor 1 or the other way around. And it could avoid me having to have a little monitor up here so I can monitor the chat room. So if the price is right, I'll get it, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. And yeah, it's just too rich for my blood at this point, and I'm not sure it's going to solve the problem. You need a break? Okay, let me give you the opportunity to put camera 2 down. Let me go back to camera 1. Yeah, you're good. Oh, I wasn't even on that camera. I was on camera 2, and I should have been on the close-up camera. Sorry. Great work. Does your back hurt?
Yes.
There's only 2 more hours to go. We're only like an hour and change into this. An hour and 20? You're already giving up? Good help is hard to find. Mark Gossman wants to know, are you going to do a show on that motherboard from yesterday, or do I have any updates? My concern about that motherboard is there's a lot of people, a lot of viewers who are using Google and watching other YouTube reviewers on that motherboard who are telling me what they read or what they said, what they saw, what they heard, but none of you have any actual experience with it. And here's my problem. I'm looking at the same information you guys are looking at. And you're looking at a bunch of people that have ritualized the repair. I hate that. So for example, there's one guy who thinks he solved his problem by just not installing the latest video driver. So he's put a Band-Aid on it to keep the old video driver on it and never have Windows Update update it. Okay, that's not a repair. That's a workaround. That doesn't fix anything. it gives you the illusion that it's fixed, but it's a limited fix because these video drivers aren't going to last indefinitely as you upgrade Windows. So that bothers me. Then there's people saying you need to have a video card, and you don't need to have a video card. So again, we have these content creators who cannot explain to you what they're changing in the BIOS, what it is that setting does precisely, other than to say that when I change this, this now works. And that's as far as their knowledge apparently goes. And it's so frustrating to me as a computer technician that they're now making a video going, you should do this and you should do that if you want this to work. But when you ask them why, about as in depth of an explanation as you're going to get is because that's what it needs to work. I am relatively certain there is a memory timing issue in the BIOS, and it's so detailed. What I ended up doing is there's an option where you set this one memory timing feature to 0. And if you read the description on the right, it says by setting this to 0, you're resetting it to auto. So it doesn't say auto. And when I did that and had it resynchronize the memory, Windows 10 installed without a problem using onboard video, got all my updates, everything's perfect. Now, that doesn't solve the Windows 11 installation issue. So if you're going, here's my request to you. If you're just going to Google stuff and look at other YouTube content creators, please don't forward the information to me. I've already seen it. If you have actual hands-on experience with anything you see me working with ever, I would love to hear from you. I don't want to hear you plagiarize somebody else. I don't want you to take credit for somebody else's work as though you discovered something because you watched a video. Please, please don't do that. That implies I don't know how to use Google or YouTube. I could do the same exact thing you did, and I likely already did, and I dismissed it. And I don't want to insult these other content creators. They're not computer technicians, nor do they claim to be. They're doing the best they can, and they're actually putting themselves out there for criticism, which is gutsy, as critical as the world is today, of the free, entitled content that they're getting. So I don't want to pile on, right? Good on them for making the video, but it's just not good that they're proliferating, in many cases, ritualized information that is not technically explainable on an engineering level. And that's okay. It's okay. But I'm at a higher level than that. I want to take it further deeper than just that surface band-aid and workaround. I don't want to work around it. I want to fix it. So, yeah. If you have suggestions for me, and it's coming from your own personal experience, I would love to hear from you. If it's somebody else's experience, I've already seen it, already done it. It's not helpful. Okay, it's frustrating. William says, I like this camera 1. What is camera 2? So it's not the cameras, it's the configuration. Both cameras are very much equal. I spent more time tuning this camera 1, than I have spent on tuning camera 2. However, that's just because I have very limited time. The camera 1 that you're watching is a Canon, and camera 2 is a Panasonic, and they're big camcorders. So that's why I can keep the zoom locked in no matter if I turn them off, turn them on. They run forever. They have cooling fans built into them. They're both 4K. They have a bunch of bells, whistles, and features. But the audio quality out of this Panasonic is so much better. I'm running my audio through the Panasonic. Now, I might end up running the audio through a little Zoom recorder I've got, but I've got to figure out where it's going to go and where I'm going to hide all the cables. And then beyond that, I could get a mixer and go old school into the audio, direct into the audio of the computer, which is what I would do even with the little Zoom, but the Zoom can have up to 6 microphones and you mix it all in the little Zoom and it's smaller. But what I want to do is I want to remove the noise floor. And I thought the Zoom with 32-bit float could do that. but I'm going to have to open a manual because I can't find where that is. And I was playing with it a little bit earlier this week and I got frustrated. That's why this microphone was already detached from the Panasonic. This is the one that Mitch will use when he's over here. So it's a spare that I have for when guests are here or if anything should happen to this one. But yeah, don't blame the picture quality on the camera. It has nothing to do with the camera. It's to do with the configuration, the fine tuning of the camera. You know, that is a whole nother skill set. There are people that are photographers for a living. There are directors of photography and cinematographers. That's all they do full time is get the best shot possible. I'm a computer guy. I'm not a camera guy. I'm interested in cameras and I wish I had more time. But cameras to me are like a hobby and the computers is a job. And the job has been consuming the vast majority of my time. I either need to hire somebody like PhotoRay to tune that camera for me or just continue to use it for audio only. If I move the audio off of that, I won't even use it anymore. I don't really need it. But if I was going to use it, it would be further away, you know, for the simulation of having like a 3-camera set. Well, it wouldn't be simulated, it'd be real, it just wouldn't be manned. So it'd be a static camera that doesn't move, but I could switch between them. I was doing that a little bit over in Studio A. It gets a little harrowing, a little confusing, and then, you know, I have my Stream Deck and I could switch between. I was mostly doing that on interviews and such, but now that all happens automatically with like StreamYard and other services where it takes all the workload away from me and my bandwidth. And it's so much easier and you don't need all that equipment, you don't need all that configuration. Yeah, don't blame the camera. That's all I can tell you. Blame the operator. Hugh says the Ace Magician looks like a nice little PC. I'll show you something here, Hugh. Let's go over to YouTube. Let's see. Let me open up my browser over here. And let me turn on, let's go to YouTube first, and then I'll turn on the capture so you guys can see. Go over here to YouTube, and let's go to, where am I? Okay, bear with me just a second here. Windows Capture, and we're going to change that to Microsoft Edge. I want to do that in Microsoft Edge, so I'm not signed in. Not that it matters, it's just I want to give you a less biased look at YouTube versus, you know, the channels I subscribe to. I've already gone through the channels I subscribe to in past videos, but let's turn off camera 1 here for a minute, see if that works. That did work, good. Okay, so if I type in Carrie Holzman, and this is the T8 Pro Ace Magician, there is my review right there. And that was posted 2 weeks ago. Then the other thing you can do, if you're curious about other types of reviews, because my reviews are very, very raw, unscripted, one take live. If you want to see people that have edited their reviews and done a bunch of testing, then of course you can just type in T8 Pro and you can see a bunch of other content creators. Well, this looks like I'm getting all kinds of weird stuff called T8 Pro. So we'll put in the word Ace Magician. Whoopsie. And you'll see a bunch of reviews throughout YouTube, so you can get an idea. This right here is me. This is that HP Elite Desk. Oh, it's an 800. I thought it was a 600. G2. That's what we were just using, this right here. And that's an in-depth review of that. We're giving those away, but you got to look for the giveaway videos. If we just click on one of my videos and then click on my name down here, then go over here to videos. Oh, actually, we want to go over here to live. And there's all the videos you've been missing. They're pretty obvious when I'm doing a PC giveaway. So just watch for another one of those. You've missed that one, but watch for another one. There'll be more coming. And yeah, most of my videos you're going to find under that live section. Some people, they just go to the video section and they say, wow, it's been a while since you posted a video, Carrie. No, these are recorded videos. These are the previously recorded live videos along with anything currently live. It'll say live in the corner when it's currently live. When it's not live, it's a replay of a live video. You'll see there's a bunch of the mini PCs I've been looking at lately. And yeah, what you won't see on here are the members only videos. Those videos are specifically for the members of the channel who pay the $9.99 a month to support the channel. I know some people think that's a lot of money, but these videos cost me anywhere from typically somewhere between $100 to $1,200 on average per video. And YouTube will pay me, about $100. If you look, these videos are getting 5.3K, so 5,300 views, 4,300 views. These all make between $90 and $110 at that number of views. You've got to really crank up the views here. This one's 10K. That one might have made me $200. For about every 5,000 views on YouTube, it's about $100. So if every video is costing me $100 to $1,200, but it's only paying me back $100 to $200, I'm bleeding money. So anytime a company wants to send me a product for free, like these mini PCs, these were free, then I don't get paid, but at the same time, I'm not paying for the content either. So that's why you're seeing a lot more of those. Now, when I did the NAS and I did the mesh system and I did the routers, I ended up sending all those routers back. I had over $1,300 or $1,500 worth of routers. Some of those routers were $500 and $600 a piece. And I sent them back to Amazon because I didn't like them, but I ended up, making videos out of them. And if I keep doing that, I'm sure Amazon will just simply cancel my account. So I've got to be very cautious with what I'm sending back. I can't just keep buying stuff and sending it back. So the members help me to pay for content. I have a bunch of content to make, but it all costs me money. And when it costs me more than I'm earning, well, that's why I keep my day job as a computer technician, because that day job is kind of paying for this. My hope was that this would take off and become a main source of revenue for me. And I have to take on sponsorships to do that. And while I have a handful of sponsors, I'm not willing to sell out and, read a script and let a sponsor tell me what I can and cannot say. Because if I don't do that, then they just won't pay me, right? Why would they? So in the meantime, that's the reality of it. And I'm just trying to make do with what I can do here to keep up interesting content that I'm genuinely interested in. I'm not just taking a product to review it unless I genuinely am interested. So, I get a lot of requests from no-name brand companies, mostly asking if I'll review their, oh gosh, there's a lot of Apple stuff. Oh, we love your channel. Would you review this? Clearly, they've never seen my channel because I don't do anything with Apple stuff. So there's a lot of lying and misleading. They just want the free marketing. And, for what, if this is retailing at $178, their cost on this is probably less than $150. In fact, I got to give Amazon a cut. So their retail cost, their manufacturing cost is likely under $100 for this. So that's what it's costing them likely to send it to me. They're getting a bargain to get, 5,300 views, let's say, on average in the first 2 weeks to introduce their product to an audience they don't have. But it's also helping me by giving me content I wouldn't have unless I paid for it. And I was about to. I was going to buy a USB capture device to show you how powerful these little computers are and how little you actually need to live stream these days. So that timing worked out beautifully. And yeah, if I bought this, I'd be happy with it. This absolutely would have fit the need that I had, which was to demonstrate that this was possible on these smaller PCs. Well, I haven't powered up the Ace Magician. I think you get the idea. It's going to be fine. It doesn't take much. Alex Kaufman with a $5 super chat says, I love the content, Carrie. Keep it up. Yeah, so as I was saying, I guess I got distracted myself. The members who pay are helping to finance this content. So for them, every Monday, I do a members only video that only members can see and only members will ever be able to see. So if people become members, they can see all the past members only videos they've missed. They're mostly hangouts. It's mostly telling people what's coming up on the week, what's going on behind the scenes, and maybe some information I don't necessarily want to share to the open public, which includes people who want to attack me. I know the people who are paying for the memberships don't want to attack me, so I'm safer and I'm freer to speak without the scrutiny because they're all kind and supportive and they're behind what I'm doing here. Some people can't afford that. That's fine. That's why the rest of the content is free. 80% of my content, 90% of my content is free. It's just those members only Mondays, and every once in a while I'll do a members only video midweek because I want to give them something to show my appreciation, because without them I'd be making less than half the number of videos I'm making right now. Until things turn around in the economy, YouTube revenues go back up, it's the only other way I can make money at this is to remove all the product and just be a talking head. Sit at a desk. I don't need all this fancy camera equipment. Just put a webcam on me with a microphone, do the Joe Rogan thing, you know, just do like a podcast. Then that's all profit, because at that point, the investment in the equipment's already paid for. But to do that by myself without somebody to go back and forth with, I can't see doing that regularly. So that's sort of the challenges I have as a content creator here, and why memberships have been offered. Hugh says this video capture card is 189 pounds. Yeah, so depending on where this is made and depending on your government's import fees, and also depending on the value of your currency, it's not fair to compare a pound or a Canadian dollar or a yen to an American dollar. So something that's $190 American, you'd have to use Google, because the exchange rate changes every day, to convert that to your currency to know what the equivalent is. Before you claim it's more money, it may be exactly the same price. Other than that, your individual governments apply different tariffs on different imported items, as the United States does. For example, luxury cars coming from Germany, the United States puts a pretty big tariff on those. They don't want you necessarily buying those European imports. However, people that spend that kind of money aren't going to be thrown by a little tariff. So bear in mind, currency exchange rate and your local government's import fees on certain types of items are likely going to explain the cost difference. It's not like the company's charging a higher profit margin for you than they're getting from somebody else. In all likelihood, they're making the same money. They're just, their expenses are different depending on where they're selling, including distribution expenses. It might be less money to distribute product to some countries than others. Just the cost of shipping to Australia, for example, would be higher, generally speaking, than the cost of shipping elsewhere. But I guess that depends where the package is coming from, where the content, where the merchandise is coming from. Mortant said some YouTubers just use an iPhone. That's what I just said. YouTubers can use a cell phone. It doesn't matter what kind of cell phone. You don't have to be specific. If that's good enough for you, you don't need to buy any of this, right? I can't use a cell phone for what I'm doing. It would be terrible. If I wanted to film videos to edit later, where I could correct things in editing and do artificial zooms and pans and things of that nature, then a cell phone would work, but it's a lot more post-production work. If I sat at a desk and I didn't need the camera to follow me around or zoom in on things I'm working on, then a cell phone is all you need, right? And if you're okay with the audio quality, the video on a modern cell phone is very, very good. Especially that Ultra S23 blows the iPhone away in video quality. But It is just YouTube, so it likely won't make much difference once YouTube gets it and rips the bitrate out of it. Does the capture card have pass-through work on Windows 7? No, nothing's going to work on Windows 7 as far as any support goes. Windows 7 support ended for Microsoft like 4 or 5 years ago, and anybody still using Windows 7 today is likely going to, if they haven't already, lose their identity or their data through ransomware. Anybody using Windows 7 today, this is April of 2023, you're using a reanimated dead corpse. This is very dangerous, very unsafe thing to do. If you buy any new hardware, a printer, a scanner, any USB device, you will likely see that Windows 7 is not supported. That doesn't mean it won't work. It means if it doesn't work, they will not help you. They are not assuring you that it will work. Windows 7 is too old. If you want to use Windows 7, be sure and keep it off the internet and use all the hardware from 2012 that was built for Windows 7. Don't try and put hardware from 2023 onto an operating system from 2012 and think it's going to work well. It's a roll of the dice, and you're really asking for trouble. You just give it enough time and you'll understand. Once it happens to you, you'll understand. Until then, you're probably not going to listen because most people don't. But in the meantime, buying a new printer likely isn't going to work. If it does work, that's fine. If it doesn't, the manufacturer, if you call support, will tell you, we're not going to help you. We don't guarantee it. We're not going to spend money for our employees to talk to you on the phone to try and make that work. Just send it back. There's not enough profit margin to deal with that. So anyway, just so you know, that's what you got to look forward to as long as you stay with an obsolete operating system. Coreyman said you can get a cell phone with a motorized gimbal that moves around, but doesn't zoom, right? Yes, if I'm pacing back and forth, there are all sorts of solutions to follow me. It's not a big deal. But when I'm working at the desk and I need, camera girl's holding that camera and she's moving around and she's moving the camera in closer and further away, I can't do that and be on the camera at the same time. So I'm not sure you're thinking through what you're saying here. Most people making these suggestions have never tried it, because if you would, you wouldn't have said that. That is a solution if I were out in a field somewhere and I set up a tripod and I'm walking around the field and my zoom is fixed and what I'm doing is I'm moving around, then there are all kinds of solutions that will follow me. But nothing that automatically, to the best of my knowledge, zooms in and zooms out, and especially when it comes to working on the desk, where how would it know what I want to zoom in on, right? So, yeah. Again, if you're just a talking head at a desk, like a Joe Rogan experience kind of thing, it doesn't need to move. It's locked in. So I'm not sure exactly when somebody would find an automated gimbal panning or tilting effective. I'm not quite sure what kind of video you'd have to make. Yeah, I'm not quite sure where that actually helps. Somebody must need it for something. I just can't think of what it is. William Lynn wants to know about using Windows 8. Did Windows 8 have end of life yet? I think it did. Windows 8 end of life. Not many people had Windows 8. Windows 8.1 reached the end of support on January 10th of 2023. So it hasn't been too long. It's still no longer protected online, but because it was recently protected as of January 10th, the protection isn't as good as it should be, but as time passes, it'll get worse. It'll become more and more vulnerable through time. So Windows 8 is no longer supported through any software or hardware manufacturers. There might be an exception somewhere, but overall, you would be very unwise to assume that an obsolete operating system is going to be supported by any hardware or software manufacturer. Why would they? It doesn't make any sense. It's just putting them in a liability situation because they're businesses and people are so happy. We can't allow people to basically injure themselves with our tools we sell. So we have to take reasonable measures to prevent that from occurring, to avoid litigation from people who use ignorance as their excuse for allowing them to do something they shouldn't have done. So that and the cost of support is something that has put a lot of companies out of business. So they're going to tell you, you're going to need, almost universally, hardware and software will tell you, you must have a current supported operating system to get any support. Otherwise, we're not going to help you. And they would advise you to return the product because that'll save them money if you do. Morton says, that's why I asked about the Samsung Arc. I would contribute towards it. Well, the problem, and that's nice of you, but it's expensive. The Samsung Arc, what's that going for on Amazon right now? Ooh, $2,800. Which is 20% off. I think it's normally $29.99. It's a $3,000 monitor. And as I said, it may not fix the problem. It might just still be too small. I don't know until I put it in place. I've seen this as low as $2,000, but it's still too much at $2,000. I think during Black Friday. Somebody had it for $19.99. We could do camel and see what the lowest price on this has been. If I was certain this was going to solve the problem, I would order it, but I'm not convinced this is going to make me happy. But essentially, I would put it into vertical mode, and I would split it, the top as screen 1 and the bottom as screen 2, and OBS would be full screen on 1, and the chat room would be full screen on 2. And then I wouldn't have to keep switching back and forth. And that's assuming I can mount it to the back of this stand, which is another potential show killer. And it's not something I'm going to easily be able to return if it's not working out. So yeah, I almost prefer to not get it at this point, but I appreciate your thoughtfulness. Used and new from $2,750. Yeah, it's still way too much money. That's at least $1,000 too much, in my opinion. Because once you turn this on its side, it's going to be like having two 27-inch monitors, because it's 55 inches from this corner to the opposite corner. So when you cut it in half, basically it's a 27-inch here and a 27-inch here, effectively. Okay, guys, any last questions or we'll wrap this up? I don't like these going longer than 2 hours, and we're already at, oh gosh, what are we at? Oh, you know what? I stopped the stream on this computer and started it on the other, so the clock started again. Am I at 2 hours?
You're at 2 hours.
We started at what, 4 o'clock?
No, 6.
So we're 5 minutes. All right, yeah, we should wrap it up. Well, listen, I appreciate participating with everybody in the chat room. That really makes this much more interesting for me rather than doing some pre-recorded video that's all edited and polished. And I never know what you're going to ask. And given that many of the questions that are asked are very good questions, even if my answers seem a little stern, it's because of the litigational reasons or the litigation potential of being in business that home users don't have to worry about. But when something negatively affects you no differently than a corporation, well, the corporation could lose business, could go out of business, or could be held financially liable, you're not going to be happy. So I just don't want to see that happen to anybody. That's all. So if I come across strong about not using a supported operating system, it's no different than coming on strong about not picking at a scab if you want it to heal. You know, it's just good practice for not taking any unnecessary risk. If there is a benefit to taking the risk that outweighs the risk, different story. But I'd be hard pressed to convince me of any benefit of continuing to use an obsolete operating system that makes that a worthwhile risk. When you realize what's at stake, you probably never will realize it if you're not in IT until it happens to you. And the cost and the trouble of correcting it will be far more than the cost of several computers brand new you could buy right now, and you'd still save money than dealing with the aftermath of a stolen identity or a ransomware infection. So do what you want with whatever excuse you've got. I'm just tired of seeing it. It's like somebody who refuses to look both ways before they cross the street because they've never been hit by a car, and they won't listen. So I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to watch every single time. I die a little inside every time I see it happen. So not people hit by cars, but people not listening who walk into their own demise. I just can't see it. It hurts me too much. So I'm going to look away. I'm going to say, look, you've been told. I don't want to know. 99 cents comes in from a viewer with a name it's in another language. Thank you for that contribution. Scott Hallinan says a 65-inch monitor would probably... No, I don't have room for a 65-inch monitor. It would shove all the cameras over to the right. And I wouldn't be able to tilt it top and bottom because, as far as I know, they don't make a 65-inch monitor that you can split into two screens. Now, granted, I could download some software on Windows and emulate that, but no. Just no. It's too big. It's way too big. John Williams says, thanks for another great stream. Thanks to Camera Girl. Yes, thank you, Camera Girl.
You're welcome.
And for the thumbnail, all these amazing thumbnails she's making. Williams says, my school still has Windows 7. Your school likely has an extended support contract with Microsoft. Microsoft does not offer that to home users. And that contract is likely for the entire school district. That's well over $100,000 a year, generally speaking. And even that has its limits. So one of two things is happening. The most likely is the school has purchased an extended support contract for Windows 7. And it's very expensive. And that support contract does have an end date. Or the second thing that's happening is you have an irresponsible school board. And if that's what's happening, you'll hear about it in the news when the entire school gets infected, or all of the private information of all the students, the parents and the teachers and the administrators, the faculty, all gets put out on the dark web because they didn't properly secure it. I'm hoping it's the former rather than the latter. But yes, there are exceptions where Windows 7 support can be continued for corporations willing to pay tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to temporarily extend the support for a couple of years. But there will be a point where Microsoft won't even take any amount of money, where they're just going, you bought extra time, we're done. But you'd have to ask your school system if that's what they're doing, since it's your information that they're going to be basically bleeding out to the, once your information's out, there's no putting it back in. It's already done. Once it's out forever. So you cannot undo that. You basically have to start over again. New social security numbers, all this stuff. And because fraudsters want to do that, they don't just hand out new social security numbers. And I know you're not in the USA. I don't know what Canada has. But actually, I don't know if William's in the USA or not. But convincing the government to give you a new social security number, you're going to have to hire an attorney. It's not going to be cheap. So then the school system is going to get sued. So hopefully they have an extended support contract. All right. Let's see. I think we've got everything. Thank you for everybody who has contributed during today's show. And thank you for participating in the live chat. Thanks to the folks at ClonerAlliance for sending this unit for review. I'll expand more on this as time allows to get one of the mini PCs set up and just demonstrate a live broadcast where you won't even be able to tell any difference that I'm streaming from a $4,400 computer or a $150 computer. Other than I'll be on one camera. I won't have the ability to switch cameras unless I have enough USB ports and enough cards that I can switch them around. But just know that's possible and that this stuff is getting cheaper and cheaper all the time. Compared to when I started, you get so much more for your money now. And the quality is improved. So not only has it gotten cheaper, it's gotten smaller, it's gotten more reliable. In many cases, you don't have to install drivers like you used to. They just happen automatically. The microphones have gotten better. The batteries have gotten better. The lenses on the cameras and the focus, everything's just getting better and better and better. Cheaper, much more affordable. So if you're interested in live streaming, it's never been more affordable than it is now. And with that, thanks again for hanging out. Thanks to all my members in blue. Sorry, all my moderators in blue, all my members who have the gold badge. Thank you guys once again. Without them, there would be far fewer videos coming from me. So my deepest thanks. Thanks to Camera Girl.
You're welcome.
And yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Easter Sunday. And I will see the members on the members only broadcast every Monday at 1 o'clock Pacific time. Hopefully, if you're a member, I'll catch you in the live chat then. Until then, bye for now. Now I need to find an outro. Let's see.
Good one.
They're so tiny I can't see them. And OBS makes the font faded until I click it, which is too late because once I click it, it starts. I can't even read them.
Now let's say intro.
An intro can be an outro though. There's only one that says outro.
There's outro.
Yeah, I've run that one several times. I'm looking for one I haven't run in a while.
Intro bulb.
Yeah, I've done the bulb.
New.
I don't know about that one. That's a terrible description. All right, well, I'm going to run this one. I can't even read it, but whatever this one is. Huh?
Epic.
Epic? All right, we're going to run the intro called Epic as an outro. Bye.